Hello Darklings, my name is Sanniz and this time we're gonna do something different and don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share and press the little notification bell and stick around and we're gonna see what I'm up to. So what am I up to, Darklings? I thought we should do a little different video this time because I had done a lot of tutorials. I have done do it yourself hauls and that type of thing, so even pictures from the zoo and other places I visit. So I thought, because it's soon time for Christmas and it's also always the time when you can give a gift to someone, or maybe you want a gift for yourself. So what can we talk about? Easiest way is actually books, and I do like books too if I have time and energy for it. And I wanted to start with a book that is about the Gothic subculture, architecture, art, fiction, film, music, and fashion from the dark side. I don't gonna mention all the writers because you can read it. I put down all the information in the information box if I forgot to mention anything in the video, but I was hoping that we can go through some things. And this book I actually got from my friend Adam in UK. Thank you very much, Adam. I love the book. And it mentioned a lot of different things, everything from the Gothic architecture that people sometimes connect together with Goth, but it's not mainly Goth, it's Gothic. And but you can see why, because the names and everything, and many Goths like this type of things too, all connected to the style. So I'm not surprised. It goes through books, films, arts, and other type of things. And it's really good pictures in it too. And of course, they mention the most type of monsters and movies and everything. And of course, vampires. The most people are interested in vampires, not everyone, but many are. And we have other characters too that we love if you follow, like Tim Burton and that type of things, you know, those type of things. And of course they even included the music, because goth is a music subculture mainly. And they mentioned different type of band, not everybody you may agree, but one of the starters for Bauhaus. And undead, we maybe wish we were, or maybe not. And I do like it. You can see a lot of different type of bands in this book, and even things that maybe not included in it. And then we have this problem with, yeah, you read it right, some people think goth is a fashion type of style, but in this case I don't think it's about the fast fashion we have today when it comes to the look, like many have when it comes to brands like Killstar and that just go on and go on and go on, and then we call it the fast fashion. This is about mainly, I think, more the ordinary fashion when it been gothic inspired or goth inspired. It's always a good or a bad thing about it. It's a good thing that we can actually find things maybe from the mainstream thing, but it's not that fun when everybody looks the way we want it to, because the subculture is a subculture. We want to do our thing. We don't want to be a copy of everybody else, even if you can think that Tregos and that type of thing copy each other's, but it's still not the mainstream thing, if you know what I'm getting. And of course, they take up the original goths from the 80s. And you can see some have already back done this type of more extreme style that you can see on some influencers today. But I would like to say that not everybody looked that extreme in the 80s. I didn't look that extreme in that type of way. I was more than like a mix from like a metalhead and punkhead at the same time. but I was still blonde because I was not allowed to color my hair, and I didn't. Back then we didn't have piercings directly. Some maybe put in safety pins and that, but it's don't do it. Don't do it. Do it safely. Do a piercing. And tattoos was not that often common either back then, so there's a lot of things that changed through times, but at least we had that start. And to connect this together, we of course have to take something that is music related, and this is another gift. I actually got this last week from my friend in Wales, Jennie, or Jan, and it's a book about my favorite band. Paint My Name in Black and Gold, The Rise of the Sisters of Mercy. And it's written by Mark Andrews, and she was written some words for me inside, and thank you, Jan. This is gonna be very exciting to read about, and I'm happy I have been able to see the band before COVID started, and they came to Gothenburg, and that was the best moment in my life, because Sisters of Mercy always gonna be my favorite band, number one, no matter what. That's the way it started in the 80s. Even I like other bands from that time too, but Sisters of Mercy always gonna be the first. I just wish that I've been able to see them already back then, so I can see some other members. Some of the members went over to the mission, and then we got my favorite member was actually Patricia. And everybody knows that Patricia is not in the band since a long time back, but she was my favorite number one. And to not to get another subject from the first book I was mentioning about the Gothic subculture and that type of thing, is when you come over to vampires. And when you think about vampires, the most classic story is Dracula of Bram Stoker, and is inspired from a little village in UK that is called Whitby. And Whitby is even known for a Gothic weekend there twice a year, and you can see that with the abbey and everything. I have been able to be in Whitby twice, but never when they have Gothic festival, so I wish that I one day can be there. But you can see where all the influences to Dracula came from. And in Whitby I actually bought this book. It's not the original story, but it's built on that way, and it's Dracula, but not Dracula in that type of reading form that Bram Stoker does. It is this type of book, and it's actually same type of story. And I actually find this book really well made and everything, and it's very easy to start reading it and go all the way to the end if someone not disturb you during the time, but I can do that without problem, and I do love this book, so I can recommend it. If you don't like to just read normal text, this is the book for you. And to not UK and other things that is connected to what people think about goths, that don't necessarily mean that you are or interested in it. But if you look to some brands that is fast fashion for goth subculture today, many of them like Blackcraft, Black Cult, Killstar and other things, they have often those patterns that are going to some type of witches or that type of believing. And of course then you can go to Northwest UK, because then we got the witches. And this is a book based on what happened with Lancashire witches. It's the lore of Lancashire witches, and it's actually a true story, sadly, and it's about the witches around Pendle Hill mostly, and you can read about trials and execution and that type of things. And I actually been to this part where they have a museum and everything about it. I didn't walk the path on Pendle Hill itself because we didn't have all the time, but I went to a museum there where you can see all the story about the penny little witches. And I was even talking with an old man there that was fascinated that the Swede was so interested about the witch stories, and I was telling him about the witch trials from Sweden that was even worse than the one in UK. So if you're interested in real story and about witches, you can read this one about the Lancashire witches, and you can probably find other type of witches trials book too, especially from US when you have the Salem witches and that type of thing. But I thought I should not together UK a little more this time. But the last book is not from UK, the story itself, but the connection is to the Lancashire area anyway, because it's a similar thing happens in Lancashire with Sophie Lancaster, and she was killed for being different, and her mom, Sophie Lancaster's mom, Sylvia, she created this Sophie Lancaster Foundation to work against these things, hate crimes, that you should be able to be yourself without having any fear. You shouldn't be able to be abused or even be killed for being who you are. And the book I'm gonna show now is a Swedish one. It's a Swedish story based on a real story. It's not yet translated to English, but hopefully will be in the future. I asked Mira about it, and she said they're working on a translation, but I don't know when that's gonna be finished. And the book's title is Pojken med stjärnorna, or translated to English, The Boy with the Stars. And the title itself is actually built on the true story about Pelle, that was his real name, that when he did his makeup he always put on those stars too. So it was a little his thing. He was not a goth, but he was an alternative person, a little more like maybe emo pop type of thing. And Mary herself knew Pelle. He was her best friend and everything. So she's written a story about him. And in the book he's named Philip, and you can follow Philip's story from a place long way before it happened to it happened and little after, to see the sadness in what happening. And he was actually killed for being who he was too. And the news here, I remember them because I was hanging in the same area, I had friends in the same area back then, was telling about this robbery that had gone wrong, but we that was alternative and everything that knew a little more about each other and had friends that maybe had more information and that type of thing. Well, it was not a robbery, he was murdered for being who he was. But the papers tried to find and say that he was robbed, but that was not the truth. He was queuing for taking up money, didn't have that much money on, and no one was forcing him. But later it came up that it was actually a hate crime, and he was killed by guys that didn't like him, especially one guy that had even more. He thought it was like a gay or whatever. He didn't like his style, he didn't like how he looked like and that type of thing. And it's very sad to actually read this. And at the same time, when you're reading this story, you know that Philip, that is named in the book, had been over even to US for a while, and in US he met this girl, and they were a couple and still were, and he went back to Sweden after a while, and it was meant for her to come and visit him in his own country to see how it was and meet his family and everything. And she should arrive in town to Valentine's Day that year. And while she was sitting on the flight to Sweden, he was fighting for his life. She didn't know anything before she landed and met his family on the airport and found the news that he actually just died. So it's very sad. But if it comes out in English, I promise I will tell people if they are interested. It's a very great story, and it's an example that these things goes on everywhere. You don't have to be into the subculture goth or other type of alternative. You can be something else. You can be your color of the skin, your religion, you're a HBQT person, or whatever people don't like for the moment. And I think it's important that we need to fight against those things. We should all be safe being who we are and shouldn't risk to be abused or even killed for being who we are. And this was the video, and I hope you like it. And don't forget to subscribe, like, share and comment, and press the little notification bell. And please be safe, be weird, and be nice to each other. Love you all, and thanks for watching. Bye. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and the strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. H.P. Lovecraft.